a lot. Thanks to Aline and FIMA for inviting us indeed. I mean, we're the big bad road users, or some of us car users, but I'm really glad you mentioned it because basically we represent through our motoring clubs around 37 million drivers, mainly car drivers, but also, of course, motorcyclists, also pedestrians, also cyclists. So we try to represent the broad range of possibilities here in Europe. So basically, one comment I wanted to make on this video is mainly about road pricing, which is a very sensitive topic for us as well. So I'm not sure if you want to deploy ITS, road pricing is the first step needed. And also from the discussion, it wasn't really planned at this stage, but I think from what I hear on the key challenges for two-wheelers today, they won't change a lot in terms of ITS, because ITS is a technology which is to a certain extent ready for cars in many instances, but it's also infrastructure. If you're talking car to infrastructure, well, is our infrastructure ready for this? Is this up to date? Is it really maintained? Is there enough money going on to this? So when you're mentioning the potholes, I think the challenges will be even magnified if you're talking about a car or motorcycles talking to the infrastructure tomorrow. So this is for us a key issue, that maintenance and the standards of the roads that are also responsible for some of the accidents. Well, really that was preliminary steps. I wanted to give a short overview of what we see as key for the user acceptance of ITS systems. Mainly there's a change in trends in mobility today, so we see more flexible demand, and that goes hand in hand in using different modes for different purposes. Having more powered two-wheelers in cities as well. I think if you look in a city like Brussels with a rise of congestion and so on, you have a lot of users like usual car drivers which will pick up a two-wheeler and who are not interested really in dealing with it in the weekend and trying to make maintenance themselves. They might not be able to do that, and potentially that might explain the rise in fatalities as well. I mean, one of the reasons why you see a growing number of fatalities in Germany is that they have 20% more powered two-wheelers as there was 20 years ago, and I think that's something you will have different types of users, and that needs to be taken into account. In the daily mobility, we see that there's a need for sharing smart, sustainable solutions. There is less of a trend of ownership. There's more of a trend also of sharing the cars. There's also more flexibility demanded depending on which family constellation you're in, depending whether you have your kids with you, whether you're alone, and that's mainly a demand for more flexibility and also, well, a best integration of the different modes in one solution. So that's the key changes in mobility trends, let's say, for the car users. And then if you look into, we're saying ITS, so where are we in terms of connected vehicle? The graph you have, you might not be able to read it, but it's about the development of connected car in the German car park as well. So you see roughly in 2020 that should be half of the car park that will be able to communicate actually to the outside world. Here I would like to emphasize as well that the ITS we're looking at right now, although some of the technologies to actually replace the drivers may be there, we're not at all discussing that at the moment. It's really more or less what was mentioned before in terms of helping the driver to be better informed about what happens outside and communicating with the other vehicles and so on. So that's really more of a trend to support the driving experience than to replace him at this stage. And hopefully so, because the main issues that are linked to totally replacing the car driver or power two-wheelers driver are about liability in case of an accident and other issues. So what are, for us, the way we see it, the safety benefits? Well, of course, being able to be warned if the vehicle in front of me brakes suddenly, being able to be warned about a steep curve or somewhere where actually was identified as a black spot on the infrastructure, being able to get the information from the system about what's going on the global situation, that might even enable me to make a different decision. I might just go on foot, I might just report my trip. That would help also congestion, and that would help avoiding traffic jams. So potential risk, I think most of them have been identified as well. The driver distraction, how much information can you actually process at the same time? Because the systems today won't replace the driver totally. You will get if it is to be kind of interesting, you will have to get a kind of a constant flow of information coming back and forth. There's not so much of an issue of how to get it, because in a car you would have some kind of a display. However, looking at the display might lead to significant additional safety risk. It could deteriorate the driver's performance by leading to overconfidence. Why should I really pay attention if I know all steep curves will be actually given to me? The trust in technology versus the driver is also a key. I mean, in terms of training, we're also looking at training issues with the e-training, and that's something we've been looking into, especially for young drivers, because they're most at risk on European roads. And indeed, the risk is overconfidence, that you would kind of think you don't need to be as well by the driving, totally 100% by the driving experience. So that's a risk, and that's why also training through machines is not necessarily something we recommend as replacing a one-to-one training, or like a peer review. Things like this have proven to be very effective with the younger drivers. And the other issue that was mentioned is indeed the 2 safety speed. What part of the European fleet will be equipped with these systems? How do you interact with vehicles who are not equipped? The average age of the car today is like 12 years on the European roads. So what about these older cars? Will they get a retrofit? Which way? What about people who actually can't afford to have these new technologies? And as we were discussing also in the accidentology for young drivers, there are mostly those who kind of buy the cheap cars and also are more at risk to get into accidents, and who actually may benefit more from the ITS development. That's the potential risk. The challenges for user acceptance, well, one big challenge I would say, and that's also coming from our discussion with the manufacturers, is indeed the liability. What happens, should the system be able to override the driver? If yes, when? At which stage? When I'm that close to an accident or a bit before? The potential for driver distraction, of course, and the need for pan-European solutions, not necessarily on pricing. As I mentioned, that's not something we're too keen on. To have a pan-European solution, yes, but not to have pricing everywhere. So there on the pan-European, equal is something we're actually really pushing for. We want that to be available in all cars, because we think it's a key safety technologies, and on this stage, but it's more of a political statement, we think the mandating of equal in all vehicle will bring telematics into the cars, and that's why we're really keen on having the Commission work on some kind of an interoperable telematics platform. So that's ongoing legislation. But we think that this might be a way to bring in telematics with not too high cost for actually the users, and that would help them actually agree on having additional services potentially. But that would involve knowing fully what type of data is collected, where it goes, for which purposes, and the possibility to opt in or out of any additional ITS systems. That's for additional services, not for equal itself, which we fully support as being